I'm Anthony K. I'm here with the producer, Mike DeFran. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, I'm always in a better mood when we're
Yep.
coming off of a win. So I'm good. I'm excited. Nagy finally did what we've been asking for and
hmm
announced I'm sure we're going to talk about it, Justin Fields as the starter moving forward. We'll see how long that lasts. So let's take it away with I'm sure we have got some questions.
Well, my first question was, talking on the subject of Justin Fields, which, by the way, we had to represent. Uh, with Justin Fields, being named the starter, there was the whole thing. Oh, Andy Dalton, if he comes back healthy, blah blah blah. But Matt Nagy or whoever forced him to say this said, put the foot down, and say, hey, Justin Fields is our guy. He's going to remain our guy. You know, barring injury, obviously. But I mean, obviously, what's kind of your reaction to that, being that he's going to be the starter for 3/4 of the year minimum?
At the beginning of the season, I told you Justin Fields outplayed Andy Dalton. And I get why they wanted to keep him back. They wanted to, protect the young guy, make sure, he understood the NFL so much faster. And they thought he was going to get blitzed and sacked a bunch of times. Oh, guess what? That actually happened
Yeah,
anyways.
he did. Yeah.
That happened anyways. And the Rams defense actually, we were so worried about the Rams defense, they're not really as good as advertised. So, maybe that week one would have been fine. So I'm okay. I'm really happy with the decision. I think it's the right decision. I think it's overdue. What concerns me is that will now Bill Lazor, who's calling the plays, put Justin Fields in a position to succeed?
hmm
So we saw when Nagy was calling the plays, he did not, right? He's thrown 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It hasn't looked fluid. So Laser comes in and runs a lot. I mean, runs a lot, which keeps your, young quarterback safe.
hmm
But at some point, he's going to have to start airing it out a little bit. And
Yeah.
and so my concern is, will they? Because when you saw that game, he took nine sacks,
Ooh.
right? The first game he started, and what I kept yelling was, well, yeah, they're in max 5-man protect.
hmm
There's no help from a tight end. There's no help from a back. They're leaving him to get killed.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't think this is true, but when you hear rumors about, well, Matt Nagy was calling plays, to teach them a lesson that I told you he wasn't ready. I don't like hearing that. I don't believe it to
No.
be true either, for that matter, but I don't even think we should have those conversations. It's a rookie quarterback. That it's their first start in the NFL. The team you're playing has a pass rush. You're going to at least 1, 2 tight end sets. You're leaving a running back in there um, to protect, to block, and he didn't do any of that. I think he dropped back. It was either 20 or 22 times, and in 13 or 14 of those, there was no tight end or running back help in pass protection. That's
Right.
insane.
That
That's
is
insane.
crazy.
So I would say that I'm excited to see what Justin Fields can do. I hope that they put the game plan in place. As of today, do I have the confidence that they will? Well, no, they haven't shown me that they will.
Mm.
So, I don't want him running for his life and ruining, like, you can make or break his career right now in the next
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I hope they do right by him. I hope they do right by their draft choice. I hope they do right by the Bears.
Yeah. And interesting little note. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently he was named the starter, I guess, on Monday. Nagy talked to him during practice or something. And his parents wanted to go out and celebrate and go out to dinner and whatever. And he said, no, I'm going to stay home and watch film.
I
Come on.
want, yeah, I want to win this weekend. I
Yeah.
loved hearing that.
Oh my gosh.
Let's hope that it's not just talk. Let's hope that it's real. And from everything we've seen from him, I think it is.
hmm
But I love hearing stuff like that. That's
That's awesome.
fantastic. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, kind of keeping on the subject of the offense for a second, obviously, the worst part of the game in Detroit was seeing David Montgomery go down. He was having a great game. He so far this year, he's looked awesome. He has looked just, I would say, even like a top five running back this season so far. And to see him go down really sucks. Where he's out definitely this week, but after that, we're not really sure the longevity of the injury. So, for however long he's out, how does David Montgomery being out of the lineup affect this offense?
It hurts the offense. I at the beginning of the season, I told you I thought Montgomery was a top 10 running back in this league, and he actually outperformed even that
hmm
and was probably a top 5 running back in this league. his injury is going to hurt because we saw it last week. Look, I get it. It was the Lions. I get it. However, the game did show us the recipe to Bear success because it feels like it's always been this and we keep trying to go away from it, but it's running the ball and it's defense.
Right.
I don't know why we've, since 1920, it's been running the ball and defense. And we keep trying to do, we bring in Jay Cutler, we bring in Mike Martz, excuse me. We want to throw the ball all over the yard. Yeah, but you know what actually always works in Chicago? You can always depend on running the ball and defense. So just build your team on running the ball and defense and let the passing come at secondary. But anyways, that's not your question. Your question is this: David Montgomery's going to hurt. I think I told you this, if you remember, kind of every single week that we've talked about Damian Williams, which is by around week 4, week 5. We saw it a little bit last week. He's going to get back kind of because he's been off for a year. I said it'll take him those 4 or 5 weeks to get back into it. So I think we're fine short term because I think Williams, he's got to have to look like the guy that we thought probably should have won the Super Bowl MVP. That's what he's going to have to be. I really like, and we talked about this in the preseason, I really like Khalil Herbert. So I think he's going to be, I think it hurts him a little bit not having Tariq Cohen as well back there as well. So, that's a little bit concerning. But other than that, I think we're okay for 2 or 3 weeks. My concern is where we talked, they said maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And there was talk about maybe putting him on the short-term IR. So that's concerning. I think you need all 3 of them if you're really going to run the ball as much as I think they need to. Because you also don't want Justin Fields at this point doing what Lamar Jackson is having to do in Baltimore, right? Like lead the team in rushing, because I don't think he can effectively do that at this point in his career. That's going to get him hurt, and that's an injury we don't want to see. So for a couple of weeks, I think they're okay.
Right, and just looking at their schedule, they got the Raiders this week, Packers next week, the Bucks, the Niners. So I mean, I wouldn't say that those are easy games by any stretch of the imagination, but I think if we could steal one from the Raiders, please let us beat Green Bay next week. That would be amazing. Justin Fields would never have to buy a dinner ever in the city of Chicago if we beat Green Bay. But if we could survive a couple weeks, maybe steal a game or two, I think we're fine. But if it's anything longer than that, I think we could be in some trouble.
Can I just say, here's the thing. There's a couple of weeks there where you can run on the Raiders. You can run on the Pack. And then against the Bucks, you can't. So that's you have 3 weeks really to get your passing game down, because the Bucks haven't given up a 100-yard rusher, I think, once in the last year and a half.
You can pass on the Bucks, however. But
exactly, that is exactly my point, is that I think in the last year and so far into this year, last year, Delvin Cook was the only rusher who rushed for over 100 yards against the Bucks. So yeah, you can pass against the Bucks, so you're going to have to pass against them. So, so I think that gives them that time to kind of build that up.
Yeah. So speaking of kind of our upcoming schedule, we got the Raiders on Sunday in Vegas. Got that big old stadium. Justin Fields, this isn't his first start. It's his 3rd start at this point, but this is his first start as being the starter, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So what are your expectations for this game in Vegas?
I'm going to kind of go back to what we've been talking about. I'm expecting the Bears to run the ball a lot. I expect Bill Lazor to call a really safe game. I hope, though, that he does take a couple of shots downfield, because that is something that the Raiders are open to. They're susceptible to some big plays. Their offense we'll get to their offense in a second, actually. So that's what you got to do in their defense: run the ball, play action, and then take a couple of deep shots. So I think we can score on the Raiders. I think they're a little, I hate to say this because they're 3-1, but I think they typically come out to hot starts. Just like that, they came out 3-0 again. They didn't look that great on Monday night. I get it. They were playing a really good team, but I think I wouldn't be as concerned with the Raiders as the records would suggest. Right. So I think they have an opportunity to win. The defense is what scares me more, because I think we can put up some points. What I'm worried about is the 2 things that we as a defense have trouble with so far this season are the 2 things that the Raiders do exceptionally well. and that's at the tight end position. They have probably the best, if not top 3 tight ends in the game in Darren Waller, and he's going to be a problem. And then they take deep shots. I think only next to Tom Brady and the Bucks, Derek Carr's number 2 in 20+ yard completion percentage. So he is throwing the ball deep to Renfrew, to Ruggs, to they're taking those deep shots and they're being successful with them. And we talked about this after game 1 against the Rams, right? The Bears let up. Now I think they've gotten better since then. Yeah. However, they give up those big plays. So I'm concerned about that. I'm almost like pick your poison. I would say that, do you just allow the underneath stuff to Renfrew and to Waller, or do you take your chances with getting burnt 2-3 times for some big touchdowns? I'm personally would rather give them. I'm of the old Lovie Smith philosophy: bend but don't break. I don't care if you give up a lot of yards, just don't give up a lot of points. And right. I think the Bears have that same style of defense that they can do that, right? Always have a safety over the top, just kind of play that underneath, give them the underneath stuff. We got to tackle. One of my biggest complaints this year is, typically when you look historically at the Bears, we're a good tackling team. We're good at, punching the ball out, et cetera, those types of things. I haven't seen that this season. So I'd like to see, the tackling. If you're going to allow underneath stuff, you have to be really good at tackling.
Yep.
And not, because if that first guy misses, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. No, I think the keys on defense for sure. Jalen Johnson is going to be important. He's going to have to lock down his side. I worry about I worry about Vildor on the second corner spot because the Raiders do have a couple good wide receivers. But I think the key for me, for our defense, is to get pressure. Khalil Mack this year has been great, 4 sacks. Robert Quinn has been very good this year. I think he's at 4 or 5 sacks. Travis Gibson has also been really solid. So we're going to have to get pressure on Derek Carr in order to, not let them take those deep shots. Because if you give him enough time, Ruggs will get open. Like, Ruggs is just so fast. He will get open.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my point. You can't give him enough time because that's what's been killing everybody this year. I also expect a big game from Roquan Smith. I think he's going to be the one that's going to have to slow down some of that underneath stuff as well. Mm-hmm. Pressure for Mack, and like you said, pressure for Mack and Quinn, and then Roquan kind of surveying the middle there.
Yeah, no, again, like you said, bend don't break. The Lions got into the red zone, what was it, 8 times, and they scored 1 touchdown. Like, that is just, obviously there was the little mishandling of the snap. There was the
sure. Down. I understand it was the Lions, right? Like we all understand that, but if you could take some of those things and build from it, there's an opportunity.
Right. So that's all I got for you for your questions. I'm sure you're gonna give us some score predictions here, but yeah, that's all.
You know what? I want to hear yours. Do you have a score prediction? I think it's gonna be a higher score game than we think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say 27-20 Bears. That's all I'm gonna say.
27-20 Bears. 27-20 Bears. I like it. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna go 29-24.
29-24.
Bears by 5. Bears by
5. There we go.
I
think the Raiders are favored by 3. I think that's what the line is right now. I think the Raiders are favored by 3. So
it does make sense. They're at home.
Yeah.
The Bears are coming off a win.
Monty's hurt. Yeah.
Monty's hurt. It makes sense. It makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the score prediction. We both got the Bears, which I like. For everybody else, send your questions, like, follow, share, comment, whatever else you do on this YouTube thing. And we'll talk to you next week on Monsters of the Midweek.